Hey guys, and welcome to Should You Buy It, where all we do is talk a little bit about the game and tell you whether or not we think it's worth the cost.
Do you hear that?
Oh, it's Charles!
It's him!
Okay, get on the gun. Go away, Charles! Leave us now! Go away!
In this episode, we'll be playing Choo-Choo Charles, the fast-paced survival horror game where you and you alone are tasked with taking down a demonic spider train with nothing but an old rusty train and a variety of different weapons.
The first question that we always cover in these videos is what stage of development is the game in, and in this case, Choo-Choo Charles is currently in full release and available on PC for $20. Now, if you guys want to save money on games, you should check out Humble Bundle in the description below. Humble Bundle will not only help to give you a discount on games sometimes, but will also help charity and support this channel. Everything you purchase on Humble Bundle will go towards helping a charity, helping our channel, and giving you some kind of a discount if there's a discount running on that game, which they have tons of discounts that Steam does not all the time. And again, if you want to save money, just check out Humble Bundle down below by clicking the link.
With that being said, what exactly is the game? Well, Choo-Choo Charles is a horror game that finds its uniqueness in the fact that you are fighting a demon spider train. This is clearly the stuff out of Thomas the Little Tank Engine's nightmares. I mean, I couldn't even begin to tell you how many times we accidentally called him Thomas.
Now, once you get into the game, you'll play through a very short prologue to give you some backstory as to what's going on. Basically, all you need to know is, hey, you're a monster hunter, and there's a demon train that needs some hunting. And that's right, you're the one that's going to hunt it down. After that, you'll arrive on a rather large island and then be tasked with getting your own train so that you have a way to actually fight and run from Charles. Once you do get your own train, the world will open up to you and the true game will begin.
In Choo-Choo Charles, you'll be tasked with completing 3 different kinds of missions. These include side quests, story quests, and weapon quests. Each of these will reward you with either scrap, an egg, or some sort of new weapon for your train. Scrap is used for upgrading your train, therefore it's something you're going to want a lot of if you plan on defeating Charles. You'll also need the 3 eggs from the main story missions, as those will allow you to fight Charles in a final battle to the death.
The main story missions where you need to retrieve eggs will have you going into mines. Once in those mines, you'll have to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge your way to those eggs. This is because you'll find a series of patrolling guards that will shoot you on sight. After obtaining an egg, you will complete the mission and can continue on to completing the next one. Oftentimes, you'll find yourself actually doing the side quest though, more than really doing anything else.
Side quests are non-story missions that will require you to accomplish some sort of task. For an example, you might have to get a dead fish in the middle of a lake while trying to avoid a creature in the lake. Other times, you may need to just simply go retrieve a book for someone. At the end of the day though, I'd say about a third of these missions are meme missions like the infamous Pickle Lady. A third are shoutouts to other horror games like Slender Man.
Oh, Slender Man, you're not gonna get me.
And the last third are just simple fetch quests.
Once you feel ready and have acquired all the eggs needed, you can then head on over to the center of the map where you'll be able to start the final battle between you and Charles. It's really not that hard to be honest with you, but I don't want to spoil the final battle for you, so we'll just say it was definitely the most fun we had fighting Charles throughout the entire time we played the game.
So now let's move into the pros and cons section for the video. First up for the pros is the fact that Choo-Choo Charles has a very unique concept. I mean, there really isn't a lot to say here, other than it's a cool idea to fight a demonic spider train engine, especially one that draws from the nostalgia of a beloved show from our childhood. Next up for the pros is that even for a small game, it has voice actors, and even though they weren't the best, it's still really nice to have. And finally for the pros is something that we can all agree on here, and that is the Pickle Lady. Need I say more?
Now for the cons, and bear with me, there's gonna be quite a few of these. First up is the fact that there is no difficulty options and the game actually felt pretty darn easy. I mean, I could see why people would feel challenged by it, but at the end of the day, as someone who's played quite a few games, this was not challenging at all. I never actually lost my train and I only died a couple of times in person, so it wasn't too bad. Either way, I would still really like to see a lot more difficulty options available, as it would add a ton of replayability to the game and a lot more enjoyment for players who want that. Next up is the fact that the egg retrieval quests felt a bit tedious and boring. You were never really threatened by the guards, as they were very easy to avoid and did not do a lot of damage. In fact, I tend to bet when you see speedruns, you'll see players completely ignoring these guards, as once you know how they work, you can sprint right past them, as if they shoot you in the back, you're not going to die instantly, and instead will get a push forward. After that is just the simple fact that you almost never see Charles. I mean, we were in this game for multiple hours and only encountered him a couple of times. And when we did, he tended to be quite a bit buggy with his AI. It's hard to explain here, but there was one situation where we were standing at the top of a tower and he could not get out of a ravine. It was pretty dumb to watch his AI try to figure it out, which he eventually did, but it was definitely hilarious to see. Following that is that NPCs seem to have no moving mouths for some reason, and they speak almost like they're telepathic. I'm sure this just had to be with a feature design or the fact that the devs were unable to develop it, but either way, for a $20 game, to see NPCs not moving their mouths, yet speaking in complete sentences to you and in different voices, just felt a bit weird. Alrighty, we've got 3 more cons left for you, and this one's going to be the fact that there is no combat unless you're on your train and shooting at enemies or Charles. I really would just like to see there be some form of combat in the game, even if it was very basic, like some Assassin's Creed stuff where you could step up behind somebody and stab them in the back. Just some form of combat available, but unfortunately that is not going to be in this game, and you'll only be able to do combat when on your train. Next is just that the game wasn't very scary, and coming from me, someone who absolutely hates horror movies and won't watch a scary movie if my life depended on it, that's saying something. I never really got jump scared outside of one time in the entire game, and I would just like to imagine that most horror games are going to be a bit more scary than this, so hopefully the devs will work on that in the future, but nothing's been stated at this point in time. And our last con today is the fact that the game only took us 2 hours to complete every single thing available outside of collecting some collectible paints, which all those do is change the color of your train. This was really disappointing, as the game wasn't necessarily bad, it was just very, very, very short for a $20 game.
So now it's time for the rating for the game. And when we rate games, we want to get 1 hour of enjoyment out of every $1 that the game costs. So for this game in particular, in Choo-Choo Charles, we would want to get roughly 20 hours of enjoyment out of the $20 cost of the game. And after putting a whopping 2.5 played hours into this game, we give it 2 out of 10 potatoes.
Choo-Choo Charles was honestly not a bad experience per se. It was enjoyable, at least in our first playthrough, but with no difficulty options, a very small amount of content, Charles barely ever even being seen, and only 2 to 3 hours needed to complete the entire game, we feel that Choo-Choo Charles is without a doubt not worth the cost.
Now before you guys go, thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more survival game content and reviews. We just want to quickly shout out our Platinum and Above members Jonathan S., Caustic FPV, and Jim Phillips, and if you too would like to help support the channel for less than $1, which is less than the price of a cheeseburger these days, you can hit the join button down below to check out our membership program. Otherwise, thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you next time.